change that.
Hey guys, appreciate y'all showing up. Ready to get started with this meeting. We got a lot of great stuff in this box that we need to go over.
Everything in the box belonged to Glenn Chambers, a man Agent Brannon Sheely of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement has dedicated his life to hunting down. Chambers is a violent man with a hair-trigger temper, a temper that raged out of control in January 1975 when Chambers beat his young girlfriend, Connie Weeks, to death. Chambers got the death penalty for Connie's murder, but he never made it to death row. Before his transfer there, he and 2 other inmates broke out.
It began with one inmate going to medical for a visit. And as the guard returned this inmate to his cell, Chambers had concealed himself up above. Chambers jumped down. The 3 inmates attacked the guard, take his keys from him, and used some bed sheets that were tied together to scale down 3 floors to freedom.
Fortunately, their freedom didn't last. Cops quickly caught up with Chambers and his partners. But Chambers got lucky again when his death sentence was commuted to life. He was transferred to the Polk Correctional Institute in Central Florida. That's where he killed everyone with kindness. In fact, his behavior was so good, prison officials allowed him to work on the prison's loading dock. That turned out to be a huge mistake because Chambers' good behavior was all part of another bold escape plan.
He worked in the shipping department, and he loaded boxes very similar to these. He hid himself inside of a box like this and was able to get out the gates undetected.
As the truck drove to Daytona, Chambers drilled his way out. And since that day in 1990, he's been running free.
America's Most Wanted, can I help you?
Despite some great tips from you, Agent Sheely hasn't been able to pin Chambers down, hitting one brick wall after another. Then his investigation led him to the box. We can't reveal how he got it, but we can show you what was inside.
Every corner I turn, there's just one more piece that's getting us a little bit closer to Glenn Chambers. Well, we were real excited about the information that might be inside, and we were not let down by that information. There was a lot of great clues inside.
The box contained dozens of photos of Chambers, all taken while he was still behind bars. Up to this point, all police had to go on was this 1977 arrest photo of Chambers. Since these photos were 12 years newer, they gave Agent Sheely a better idea of how Chambers may look today.
And it lets us see that he changed very little from the time that he went in jail in 1975 to 1990 when he escaped. But I think his frame, his body structure, and his face are going to appear pretty close to what we see.
And the photos revealed another significant discovery, a new tattoo.
We were aware of a tattoo that said "Live Free or Die" on Mr. Chambers' arm. With the new pictures, we were able to determine that sometime while in prison, it appears as though he covered that up.
But it wasn't covered up well. Look closely at the tattoo in the new photo from '81. You can still read the words, "Live Free or Die."
You'll take a look at these. Tell me what you think that tattoo could be.
Agent Sheely and his team have tried hard to determine what the new tattoo might be.
Any ideas?
It looks like it could be a butterfly with the wings. That's what I'm thinking.
His team could only guess, so Agent Sheely decided to take it to some experts.
Yeah, well, it's obviously a butterfly for part of it. This bottom part down here almost looks like it could be a bear or something like that, another animal with it, or even like a rock with the butterfly landing on it.
So you think 29 years later, if someone was to see this tattoo and nothing else had been done to it, do you think they'd see the "Live Free or Die" more plainly than the picture, or would it kind of appear like it is here?
I think the "Live Free or Die" would definitely be legible. The type of ink and stuff they use is so primitive. Between pencil shaving, pencil lead or burnt checkers mixed with deodorant or even urine, so they never stay very dark. And the original one that's underneath of it definitely seems to have been done the same method, but just with a better quality ink. That's why it's coming through.
You've been a big help. I really appreciate your help, Sean.
Glad I could help you.
Thanks a lot.
All right, you have a good day.
You too, thank you.
You ready to get started with this tattoo?
Yep.
All right, let's do this.
What Agent Sheely has learned about Chambers' aging tattoo and how it may look now has helped breathe some new life into the investigation and has hopefully moved him a step closer to his goal.
These clues right here are bigger than any clues that we've had in the past, and there are more clues than what we had in the past. Well, I hope that with this new information that it could lead to the location of Glenn Chambers.
Boy, here's a creep who's beaten the system repeatedly. And Cindy, you have been talking to the victim's mom, somebody that everybody's forgotten about.
Yes, yes. She's almost 84 years old. Her name is Eleanor. She goes to Connie Weeks, that's her daughter's grave, every couple of weeks. And she's a spunky older woman, and she's determined to see this through.
I've walked in her shoes. As the parent of a murdered child, I know she's never going to give up. And this guy's, he beat the sentence that he was given, death in the electric chair. So, tell me about this creep. You've got some evidence that's going to shed some new light on this guy.
I do. We got a lot of great evidence. He's highly intelligent. He's very manipulative. We've got where he was trying to be published, and I think it's going to be a big clue in trying to locate him. From Easy Rider, Penthouse, and then all the way to Mensa, which we found out he is a member of Mensa, the High IQ Society.
That's that ego coming through, isn't it?
It really is.
Smart guy. So, 20 years. Where do you think this guy is?
I think he could be anywhere. He could be here in the United States or he could be out of country. But what's important to know is he's not on the run anymore. He's leading a stable life, probably married, maybe has children, but he's holding down a stable job and has a stable life.
I know this arrogant creep is somewhere in the world and thinks that he's gotten away with it. And you told me that he's learned Spanish. I mean, we've caught 5 guys in Belize in the last year. So he might be in Central America, but my heart really goes out to that mom. I think tonight the world's going to become a much smaller place for this arrogant creep. Pat Barnes, a dispatcher for the Belle Plaine Volunteer Fire Department, wouldn't normally show her face at the scene of a fire. But this night was different. She knew the people whose house was burning.
Are we all clear inside?
All clear. Okay.
Jack or Mary inside?
No, nobody's inside.
Or any conclusion as to what the cause might have been?
I'm sure this is probably an arson.
Okay.
They couldn't find the owner of the house, but he was believed to be in the woods somewhere.
Authorities eventually located the home's owner, John Jack Schlump. And once the fire was determined to be arson, Schlump was charged. Here's what remained of Schlump's house. At the time, Schlump and his wife were separated, and she was not living in the home. Also, the home was not insured. Schlump never really gave authorities a reason why he torched his home. But found guilty in December of 1990 of arson, he received 2 years probation for the crime. And as the years went by, the fire became old news.
Nobody seemed to know anything. Life went on, and it was forgotten.
And while Pat and the citizens of Belle Plaine may have forgotten about Schlump, he never forgot about Pat. The woman he'd seen as his home burned to the ground had left a searing impression on him. Schlump's ex-wife and Pat had known one another, and and Schlump had seen Pat in passing over the years, but it would take him nearly a decade to act on his impulses.
I ride my bike a lot, and I had a route that I would take through the area. I was pretty consistent with my route. There was a metal rod sticking out of the ground, and there was a card on it. And I stopped because it had my name on it. Something about, you know, if you need a friend, you know, you can talk to me. I took the card off the thing, and then I turned around and I went back on my route. Then a couple days later, he was coming the opposite way, and he stopped.
Morning, Pat.
Hey, Jack.
Oh, I was wondering if you got my card.
That was you.
Surprised?
Yeah, a little.
Me too. I guess I surprised myself. But I meant it. You know, if you ever need to talk or anything, I'm around.
I like that.
And that's pretty much how the relationship started.
Morning. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you.
You did.
These are for you, Pat.
Oh.
I grew them myself in my garden.
I found him to be just a nice guy. He just kind of swept me off my feet.
Schlump convinced Pat to marry him once their kids from previous marriages were out of high school. He wanted Pat all to himself. Not only that, within a year, they built a house together on the exact foundation of the house Schlump had burned to the ground 10 years before. As for their honeymoon period, it ended fast. Very fast, as Schlump's unique outlook on life surfaced.
They'll never learn. What nobody else will.
He was consumed with chasing people on four-wheelers.
I'm gonna teach this punk a lesson he'll never forget.
Jack, stop! You're gonna kill him!
I know what I'm doing.
Jack, stop it!
Shut up, Pat!
He just was consumed with tracking him down. He thought he was the law.
But strangers weren't the only ones consuming Schlump's dark thoughts.
He started complaining that my children made him feel like it wasn't his house.
They watch me, Pat. They want to make sure I don't belong.
Don't be ridiculous. But it is an adjustment for them as much as it is for you. Please, just give it some time.
Time to see if it's me or them.
I loved him, and I didn't want to fail. I just was willing to do anything I could to make it work.
no, 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 no.
I looked at his paycheck, and I saw how much he made, and I was getting madder and madder by the minute that he's not contributing anything.
How long do I have to
And we had an argument.
around here, huh?
Are you telling me you want me to go?
Maybe I am.
It seemed like he was getting worse and worse every day.
Hey!
Like he was getting ready to snap.
Where have you been?
I was at work. And I don't have to answer that question to you. This is not your house anymore. Jack? Jack? Jack, listen to me, please. Jack! Jack! Jack, please. Jack, please. Please. I do not want to call the police on you.
You wouldn't.
But Pat had reached her breaking point.
I told him that he was in the bedroom and that there were several guns in the room, and I was concerned.
Because Schlump had guns in the house, it violated the conditions of his probation from his arson conviction.
He wanted me to put the house up to bail him out, and I told him I wasn't going to do that. He got his brother to bail him out.
Pat finally summoned the courage to end the marriage, and since Schlump was convicted for the weapons charges, she hoped he would soon be out of her life for good. But that wouldn't be the case. Cops say just a week before he was to report to jail, Schlump took his violent tendencies to a whole new level.
It's payback time! See how you like wearing the bracelets?
He was trying to put a pillowcase over my head, and I was fighting him.
I'm not going to jail. You had a chance to keep me out, and you didn't. Now you and Ryan are gonna pay. You have no idea what I'm capable of.
And I was fighting with everything that I could. He hit me. I kicked him. I tried 911. He realized what I was doing. He said he intended to burn down the house, and that he was going to take Ryan and I out with it.
I love you. I love you.
I told him that I loved him, that, you know, I didn't want to see him go to jail.
We're a good team. We're a good team. You and me.
If anyone tries to stop me, if I see even one cop car pass by me on the road tonight, I'll come back and kill you and Ryan.
I think that my passionate plea.
Oh, my God.
Detectives say these real photos show the extent to which Schlump had gone, placing gas cans all over the house. These are the flares Schlump planned to use to start the blaze. It was at that point Pat realized how lucky she and Ryan were to be alive.
So you talked him down off the ledge, and I know that your son was in that house that night, so he was planning probably to kill you, get even with you, vengeful guy that he is, and take your son out.
Yes.
That mom instinct kicked in, didn't it?
Yeah,
Saved
the
your
entire
life.
time that I was in that garage, I was thinking about Ryan. I knew he was in that house.
Wow, he saved not only your life, but his too. let me ask you a few things about this guy. Was he on the police radar before that?
He didn't attract a lot of attention to himself. He was an avid hunter, but he wasn't the type of guy that, you know, he wasn't out there dealing drugs or anything like that. So we weren't really watching him.
John, give me some background of this guy.
We think that he's shacking up with another woman, trying to perhaps find his next victim. He lives off of the women and the money that they make. And, you know, Pat showed us around what she found when she found the house was booby-trapped. I mean, and this guy is capable of severe damage.
Pat, you must be thinking, what if he comes back to finish the job?
Every day. Every day. I get out of my car, I look around at when I'm at home, the alarm is set, all the time.
That's why I'm praying that somebody has the courage tonight to pick up the phone and end that nightmare you've been living day to day. You're so courageous. I hope it ends tonight.
At the time it happened, I felt like they would go out and find the guy that night, and by the time I got out of the hospital, he would be in jail. Never thought it would take this long.
You know, there's a practical nature to police work, to law enforcement. And I remember thinking, this ought to be fairly smooth. The odds are that, you know, somebody's going to know something, this person's going to talk, who knows, they may even turn themselves in, you know, or whatever. I never in my wildest nightmare envisioned that it would still be going on a decade later.
At the time it happened, I felt like they would go out and find the guy that night, and by the time I got out of the hospital, he would be in jail. Never thought it would take this long.
She had some significant defensive injuries on her hands. Somebody like that, they deserve 110% of anything that I could do to get this thing solved.
It's not a common bond, the bond between a victim and a detective, but it has to be a strong bond. And this one is stronger than most.
He's always been like a father figure to me.
I think there's a little bit of a fatherly feel for her, as if perhaps she was my daughter.
Theirs is a relationship that began with a moment of horror. The place was Appleton, Wisconsin. The date, August 7th, 1999. It was early in the morning when a 23-year-old woman, we'll call Heather, pulled up to her mother's home. Heather had finished her shift as a bartender at a country club and had made the long drive to Appleton so she could attend a wedding the following day.
It was close around 3:30 when I got there, so I was really tired.
Come with me.
He didn't seem threatening or aggressive at first, that it was just a neighbor kid. But then as he started dragging me towards the park, then I started screaming. I was just focused on trying to get away. But once I saw the knife, I just tried to get into the fetal position and just protect myself. I remember thinking I was going to die.
Heather was stabbed 23 times, and at no point did the attacker try to sexually assault or rob her before he fled into the darkness.
I was just laying there and bleeding to death. So then I realized that I have to get up and get to the house. Walked into the living room and kind of fell onto a chair next to the phone and called 911.
Powder gave me 911.
Someone just stabbed me in my front yard.
Somebody just stabbed you?
No.
Where'd they stab you?
Everywhere, please. I'm going.
Okay.
They kept dying.
As ambulances rushed to the scene, Heather's mother remained by her daughter's side. It's something Heather will never forget.
That feeling was one of the worst. It was seeing the fear in my mom's eyes. To see her daughter bleeding to death.
I made a very sincere promise to the family, to the victim, that I would do absolutely everything in my power to bring this person who had committed this crime to justice. And I meant that.
For years, Detective Randy Cook stuck by his word, doing everything possible to find Heather's attacker. All the while, their bond grew.
We spent a lot of time together the first probably 5 years, trying to draw sketches, hypnotism, driving to various places to try to spark memories.
Detective Cook also knew to ask for our help.
Do you have any idea around that time of the summer of '99 what type of vehicle he might have had?
But after many years and even more dead ends, Detective Cook decided he had to do what was best for the case. Let new eyes examine the evidence. It was a hard decision for him to make, and an even harder one for Heather to accept.
Oh, I immediately started crying because I knew that no one would work as hard as he did.
But when Heather was told Detective Tom Poss was taking over, she knew she was in good hands.
But, we got fresh eyes, and I don't want to pollute you. Okay, sure, right.
One of the first things Detective Poss did was take Heather back to the crime scene to reenact what happened. Poss was struck by where the attacker grabbed Heather. He knew that advancements in technology would be key.
We've discussed with the crime lab is that we know his hands were on her arms, and they're also focusing attention on the sleeves of the articles that she was wearing.
Technicians were now able to examine the sleeves for trace evidence, most likely the attacker's own sweat. Also never before revealed, a distinctive red car Heather remembers seeing.
She just noticed that it was a red sports car with louvers in the back window. Thought maybe it was a Dodge Daytona or a car similar to that. We're not sure if the red car is the person that was involved in this attack, but we would love an opportunity to talk to this individual.
I would love for anyone who knows who did this, friend, family, old friend, enemy, anyone, to turn him in. I don't know why they wouldn't have by now, because it would change my life for the better, and I could stop living in fear.
Tough stuff, Heather. And I gotta say, I feel like I know you. I've watched that piece so many times over the last 8 years, and I wanna first say how sorry I am for your pain, and number two, how proud I am of you, of your courage, that you have never given up on this case.
Thank you.
And tell me how you're doing now.
I'm better. Lost my spirit, which I used to have such a free spirit. It's coming back. It's still not where it was, but it's getting better.
You're a survivor and a fighter, I know that. Jenna, I gotta ask you first. 8 years, we've profiled this case 3 times. This will be the 4th. Any good tips over the years?
We've had great tips over the years, and Randy Cook did an awesome job of always following up those tips, but we owe it to Heather to just keep reairing it and keep updating it, and so that's what we're hoping for, and we're just hoping to get that awesome tip on Saturday night.
Oh, absolutely, because that's part of the process, isn't it? I know firsthand. Getting that justice is part of the process of moving on. Tom, you inherited a tough case from a really compassionate, good guy that wanted to see it solved. I gotta ask you 2 things. Over the years, any similar cases in the area?
Nothing quite like this one. I mean, we've had other incidents in the area, but nothing as gracious as this. It was a horrible attack.
We're all asking. DNA off of the evidence?
The crime lab's still looking at some items, and we're confident that we may have a DNA profile.
Then you'll run it in the state lab, then you'll run it into the FBI CODIS and hope you get a hit.
Correct.
Okay. You're not giving up on this case, are you?
No, we're not.
Police.
He's out here right now.
He's wanted out of where?
Georgia, for homicide. He killed his ex-wife and his daughter.
And how do you know that's him?
I'm looking at it.
Recently, our hotline's been lighting up as you continue to take the bad guys down at an amazing pace. I'm especially happy about 3 of your latest captures because they're all violent sexual predators. Dean Birdsell, taken down in Rochester, New York. Billy Gibson, arrested because of a tip to our website. And Vincent Boyd, charged with sexually assaulting 2 young girls, brought to justice in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. All great jobs by our tipsters. And just recently, one of our tipsters really stood out for going that extra mile. His name is Andre Adams. Andre and his girlfriend, Shamari Brass, are regulars at Ford Park in Shreveport, Louisiana. On July 28th, they were in their usual spot when Andre noticed something very unusual.
I noticed how slow he was coming through the park as if he was lost. As the truck was passing us by, I looked at the back of the truck at the license plate and seen the peach in the middle of the license plate to determine that they were from Georgia. So I was like, man, I don't know what's wrong with this truck.
After a few days, Andre pretty much forgot about that black truck. Then on Saturday night, Andre settled in for another routine. A routine that he's followed for more than a decade.
I'm watching. And I like how, Mr. Walshby, helped catch the scumbag. And, it's just a good show, period. So as we was, watching the show, he was saying about the other two guys that had killed their family members, and then that's when he got into the Kenneth Baker episode.
Kenneth Baker was a long-haul truck driver from Griffin, Georgia, who allegedly murdered his estranged wife, Linnell, and her daughter, Shaylinda. It happened in May, right before Shaylinda was set to graduate from high school. Cops turned to AMW for help, and as we always do, we told viewers like Andre what to look for.
Now, he may still be driving this truck, a black 1996 Mazda pickup truck with Georgia tag number ARK2281.
And once I saw the black pickup truck, I'm like, man, that looked just like that truck I saw Wednesday. And I was telling my mother friend, I was like, Johnny, I bet you that truck has a POW sticker in the back window. And before I could say POW,
you can see that he's got a big POW MIA sticker stuck on the back window.
And I say, Johnny, that's that truck. My heart was beating, 1,000 miles a minute because I wanted to be sure that this was, actually the truck that I saw.
Good evening, America's Most Wanted.
Andre called our hotline right away, reporting what he had seen earlier that week. And as police began looking into his tip, along with many others they got that night, Andre couldn't wait to begin his own investigation. A few days after our broadcast, Andre and Shamari went back to their favorite park, and they couldn't believe what they saw for a second time.
I said, baby, that's that truck. She said, Andre, you sure? I said, baby, that's that truck. I'm telling you, I know that's that truck. I say, to make sure that's him, pull up the America Most Wanted website.
When Shamari pulled up AMW.com on her phone, she found a picture of fugitive Kenneth Baker. But that wasn't enough for Andre. He needed to get closer, to see Baker with his own two eyes.
I'm really anxious because I really want to see, is this guy for real? So I'm just looking at my phone, and I'm looking at him. So I'm like, man, it could be him, it could be him. And I'm getting excited all at the same time. As I get closer, I can hear him saying, man, I messed up. I shouldn't have did it. I shouldn't have did it. Man, I messed my life up. I'm saying to myself, like, oh, my God, this guy's crazy, so let me hurry up and get back to my car. And as I was walking back to my car, I noticed that he had the POW missing in action sticker on his back window.
For Andre, spotting the fugitive was just the beginning.
Shreveport Police, what is your emergency?
Okay, man, I'm sitting out here at Ford Park, and I was watching America's Most Wanted when they advertised this dude, Kenneth Baker, as being a murder suspect out of Georgia.
He's wanted out of where?
He's wanted out of Georgia for homicide. He killed his ex-wife and his daughter.
Andre wanted to make sure Baker wouldn't get away.
Okay, and how do you know that's him?
I'm looking at it. I think he's getting up, he's trying to leave, man. If y'all trying to get this dude off the street, y'all need to send somebody out here immediately.
When Shreveport police responded, they quickly took Baker into custody. Cops say he almost seemed relieved to be arrested. Back in Georgia, investigators rushed out to share the good news with Linnell and Shaylinda's family.
Can I come in? You mind if I come in? We thought this was important enough to make this late trip. I received a phone call from Shreveport Police Department, and they wanted to let me know that they had captured Kenneth Baker.
Oh,
Without the help, you know, of America's Most Wanted when we were doing this.
It was a tip that got called in.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. Do I do my dance now or later?
You can dance.
Do it now.
The arrest gave the family some much-needed closure, and they couldn't be more grateful to Andre.
I don't know if I have the words to express how I feel. I was just happy. I was like, Lord, thank you. Just thank you.
If somebody killed my sister and my niece, I want them to do the same thing. And, you know, let him come and stand a trial for what he accused of doing.
Andre, I gotta tell you, it's an honor to meet you.
Okay.
It is truly an honor. And you and Shamari may be the two most observant America's Most Wanted fans over the years. But I gotta say, you gotta be one of the bravest, if not the bravest, for getting out of that car to make sure that that was the guy. The family, they've gotta...
Oh, they are ecstatic. They are so overjoyed. They always believed in America's Most Wanted and its power, but when it happened 3 days after our airing, they still could not believe it. Still.
Yeah, but I love what you said about the mom and her daughter, that you remembered she was so close to graduation.
Yes, sir.
What made you say to yourself, I'm not giving up. I'm gonna go back and see if this guy's there?
Because, I mean, I really ain't approve of how he did, you know, the wife or the stepdaughter. And I mean, I'm just not that type of person to harm no innocent kids, no way, period. And that's one reason why I do love the show. So, along with the help of the Lord, he put me in the right place at the right time. Man.
Absolutely. I love it how your girlfriend was your partner and she's in the car. She goes with the cell phone and stuff. I gotta ask you, though, this is a 400-pound guy that murdered 2 people. You're walking over to check him out 5 feet from him. Did you ever think that he might do something crazy?
Man, I done dealt with crazier people than him, Mr. Walsh, to be serious. So I really wasn't worried about Mr. Baker trying to do nothing to me.
Well, he could have hurt you, but you're one brave guy, but I gotta tell you, the way you stayed on this case, the way you stuck with it, and how you ended this family's pain. Thank you for hanging in there.
Oh, yeah, anytime, Mr. Walsh. For you, anytime.
Mark, 5 years is way too long for a guy that tried to kill his ex-wife and burn down her kids. He needs to be taken off the streets. My heart goes out to Heather. She's waited a long time to find out who attacked her, and she's changed her life around. Maybe we can end that chapter tonight. This guy, 20 years, thinks he's smarter than all of us.